Well, this will probably be an eventual multi-part series on Ungern Sternburg, the Bloody White Baron, or the White Warlord of Mongolia. Basically, his story starts out as a child. His grandfather was a huge inspiration to him. That man was a pirate, pretty much, in the 1880s, early 1890s. I believe he was in Bulgaria, and he would build fake lighthouses on treacherous stretches of coast, beaching ships, boarding them, stealing the cargo, and killing the crew, if not the entire vessel. I believe that man was eventually hanged. That was a huge inspiration to Ungern early on. Anyway, he went into the military academy for the army, I believe. He was kicked out for being too violent, causing too many fights. He went into the artillery school, passed that, went into the Russo-Japanese War, survived that, wasn't in any frontline conflict, and eventually joined the, I believe, Transbaikal Cossacks, and then the Don Cossacks. He was kicked out of the Transbaikal for being too drunken and violent. Got into a sword fight, which I don't know if you can tell from this cover of this book, but he'll have a long scar right about there going that way, across his forehead, where he got it in a saber duel for being drunk and challenging a Cossack. And eventually, he had become a warlord in World War I, well, after the end of World War One. Around the early 1910s, occultism got really big, which you can kind of tell from the outline. This man was not confirmed to be a Buddhist, nor Christian, nor anything else. He said he fought for God and whatnot. He used it in speeches and what have you, but no real confirmation. This book kind of goes into like the conspiracy theories against the man, comparing him to the Nazis, thinking he was gay. I wouldn't really recommend this book. It has some good historical facts and a lot of the writer's own ideas, I guess you could say. Conspiracies almost. Just didn't seem like it was needed to be added. James Palmer wrote this book. But they got more books about the man. A lot more interesting stuff in them. One of the quick stories I'll tell before I wrap this one up is he snuck into the the capital of Mongolia with 300 men and a bunch of monks. Monks covered in coal dust and butter. So they would be harder to see and would not be easily grabbed if in a hand-to-hand combat. Mind you, monks back then in the 1920s were more violent type, not the peace-loving you'd see today, I guess. Anyway, these Buddhist monks going to the capital of Mongolia with Ungern Sternburg, a warlord at the time, to take the leader of Mongolia back. The communists took over the village and heavily defended the capital building, or whatever building it was. I believe it was a monastery at the time. And they snuck in, the monks did, by the way, assassinated everyone within a few moments, and they were out of there within 20 minutes. Ungern Sternburg drove the man out on a vehicle because the horse they tried to put him on collapsed under his weight. The leader of Mongolia at the time was quite obese, but Ungern Sternburg believed it was his way to political hierarchy, I guess. He was friends with him before the Civil War. He gave him 2 brass cannons and an automobile. Some believe that he was gifted an elephant or 2. Not really sure if that one's true. But, yeah. Anyway, that's just an intro to Ungern Sternburg and the Bloody White Baron. And I'll get more into the Russian Civil War, and I believe the town he occupied was called Butcher's Hill. I'll get more into that later. Anyway, long live the Tsar.